The Galactic Council Chamber was the largest room in the known universe. It floated in the heart of a space station the size of a small moon, surrounded by the light of 1,000 stars. For 600 years, representatives from 47 different species had gathered here to discuss trade, peace, and the future of civilization. But today, there was no discussion. Today, there was only silence and fear. Admiral OK stood at the center of the chamber. He was a species known for their calm minds and steady nerves. His skin was translucent, and the color that glowed beneath it revealed his emotions to everyone watching. Right now, that glow was pale blue, the color of defeat. "The or have broken through our final defensive line," he announced. His voice echoed through the massive room. "The outer rim colonies are gone. Every ship we sent to stop them has been destroyed. The core worlds will fall within 3 days." A wave of despair moved through the assembly. Some of the representatives began to weep. Others sat frozen, unable to process what they were hearing. A few simply stood up and left, perhaps to spend their final hours with their families. Commander Lisa Grant watched from the observation gallery high above the main floor. She was human, one of the few humans allowed to exist outside of Earth's quarantine zone. Her ancestors had been colonists who left Earth before the first contact incident, and they had been granted special permission to remain in galactic society. But they were never truly accepted. They were tolerated, watched, and quietly feared. Beside her stood Captain Danny, another human with the same complicated history. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with gray hair that spoke of too many years spent fighting in wars the galaxy barely acknowledged. 600 years, Danny said quietly. 600 years of building this civilization, and the ore will tear it all down in a week. Lisa said nothing. She had no words of comfort. The ore were unlike anything the galaxy had ever faced. Their ships were covered in a living armor that absorbed energy weapons. Their soldiers could regenerate from almost any wound, and their minds were all connected through a hive link that allowed them to coordinate with perfect precision. Every strategy the Council had tried had failed. Every weapon had proven useless. Down below, High Counselor Hex rose from her seat. She was ancient beyond measure, her body made of living crystal that had formed over millions of years. She had been present at the founding of the Council itself. In all that time, no one had ever seen her afraid. Until now. "There is one option we have not yet considered," Hex said. Her voice was like wind chimes caught in a storm. "One species we have never contacted for help." The chamber fell even more silent, if such a thing was possible. Ambassador Os, a reptilian being from the desert world of, stood up so quickly that his chair fell backward. "No," he said, "absolutely not. The humans were quarantined for a reason. We all agreed. After what happened during first contact, we swore that we would never." "I remember what we swore," Hex interrupted. "I was there when we made that promise, but I also remember what we swore to protect: life, civilization, the future of every species in this galaxy." She paused, her crystalline form catching the light. "The or will destroy all of it, every world, every species, every child. They do not negotiate, they do not show mercy. They consume everything in their path." "And you think the humans will be any different?" Os demanded. "You think the species that nearly destroyed their own planet a dozen times before they ever reached space will somehow save us?" Lisa felt her cheeks burn with shame. She had heard these arguments her entire life. Humans were violent. Humans were unstable. Humans were too dangerous to be trusted. The first contact incident had proven it beyond any doubt. But Hex turned her ancient eyes toward the observation gallery, toward Lisa herself. "Commander Grant," the High Counselor said, "please come down here." Lisa's heart began to pound. She looked at Danny, who gave her a small nod of encouragement. Then she walked to the lift that would carry her down to the main floor. Every eye in the chamber watched her descend. She could feel their fear, their hatred, their desperate hope all mixed together. When she reached the floor, She walked to the center of the chamber and stood before the High Counselor. "You have lived among us your entire life," Hex said. "You know our ways. You have served the Council with honor and loyalty. But you also carry human blood in your veins. You understand your people in ways that we never could." "I have never been to Earth," Lisa said. "I have never met a human who was not raised among the stars. I know nothing about Maya except what the history files contain." "That is precisely why you are the perfect choice," Hex replied. "You are human enough to gain their trust, but you are also counsel enough to explain our need." She reached out with one crystalline appendage and touched Lisa's shoulder. "We need you to return to Earth. We need you to wake your people. We need you to ask them to save us." Lisa felt the weight of the request pressing down on her. She had read the files about First Contact. She knew what humans had done when they first encountered alien life. The violence, the chaos, the fear that had spread through the galaxy like a plague. "You want me to unleash them," she said softly. "I want you to give us a chance to survive," Hex answered, "whatever the cost may be." Lisa looked around the chamber. She saw the faces of beings from dozens of worlds, each one representing billions of lives. She saw children in the galleries, brought by their parents to witness history. She saw soldiers who had fought and bled against or now waiting for someone to give them hope. And she knew she could not say no. "I will go," she said. "I will find my people. I will ask them for help." She paused, meeting the High Counselor's ancient gaze. "But I cannot promise what they will do. I cannot promise they will listen. And I cannot promise that saving you will not cost you everything you are." Hex nodded slowly. "We understand the risk, but we have no other choice." As Lisa turned to leave the chamber, Danny fell into step beside her. "You know this is crazy, right?" he said. "The humans on Earth are not like us. They have been locked away for 6 centuries. They have been told that the entire galaxy hates them. They have every reason to let us all burn." Lisa kept walking, her eyes fixed on the door ahead. "Yes," she said, "but they are still human. And if there is one thing I know about my people, it is that we never stop fighting, even when we should, even when it would be easier to give up." She glanced at Danny. "They or have never faced anything like us, and I think it is time they learned why the galaxy was so afraid of humanity in the first place." The starship Artemis was one of the fastest vessels in the Council fleet. It had carried diplomats across the galaxy, raced medical supplies to dying worlds, and once outrun a hunting pack for 3 straight days. But as it approached the edge of the Sol system, even its advanced engines seemed to hesitate. Lisa stood on the bridge, watching with growing unease. The quarantine zone around Earth was supposed to be maintained by Council defense platforms, simple automated weapons designed to keep humans contained and prevent any outside contact. That was what the official records said. The reality was very different. "I am counting 47 defense platforms," Lieutenant reported from the tactical station. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "No, wait, 53. And those are not Council designs. Those weapons are human-made." Lisa stared at the screen. The platforms were massive, each one the size of a small city. They bristled with weapons that did not match anything in the galactic database. Some of them appeared to be kinetic cannons capable of launching projectiles at incredible speeds. Others looked like missile launchers holding warheads that the sensors could not identify. "They built their own cage," Danny said from beside her, "and they made it stronger than anything we ever put up." "Or they built a fortress," Lisa replied quietly, "and we are about to knock on the door." The communications officer turned in her seat. "Commander, we are being scanned. Multiple frequencies. Some of them are so advanced that our systems cannot even process the signals." "Open a channel," Lisa ordered. "All frequencies. Let them know we are here." Static filled the bridge speakers. For a long moment there was nothing but white noise. Then a voice cut through, cold, professional, and utterly without warmth. "Unknown vessel, You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself and state your purpose. You have 30 seconds to comply. Failure to respond will result in immediate destruction. Lisa took a deep breath. This is Commander Lisa Grant, diplomatic to the Galactic Council. I am human. I carry the blood of Earth in my veins. I request permission to approach and speak with your leaders. Silence. The seconds stretched into eternity. Lisa could feel the tension on the bridge like a physical weight pressing against her chest. Then a different voice spoke. This one was older, rougher, and carried the weight of many years. Commander Grant, we have been watching the war from here. We have seen thee or sweep across the galaxy like a plague. We know why you have come. A pause that lasted 3 heartbeats. Docking coordinates are being transmitted to your navigation computer. Follow them exactly. Any deviation will be treated as a hostile act. Welcome home. The channel closed. Danny let out a breath he had been holding. Well, that was friendlier than I expected. Do not relax yet, Lisa said. We are not safe. We are just being allowed inside. The Artemis was escorted through the defense grid by a squadron of human warships. Lisa had never seen anything like them. Council vessels were elegant, designed with smooth curves and flowing lines that spoke of peaceful intentions. These human ships were the opposite. They were angular, brutal, covered in armor plating and weapon ports. They looked like they had been built for one purpose only, to kill. The orbital station they docked with was equally intimidating. It was a massive ring that circled Earth itself, connected to the planet by dozens of space elevators. The surface of the station was covered with construction bays, each one building more ships, more weapons, more tools of war. When Lisa stepped off the Artemis, she was met by a woman in a dark military uniform. She was in her 50s, with short gray hair and eyes that seemed to look straight through everything they saw. Commander Grant, the woman said, I am Admiral Cole, commanding officer of Earth Defense Command. Please follow me. There were no pleasantries, no small talk. Cole simply turned and walked, expecting Lisa to keep up. You want us to fight your war, Cole said, as they moved through the station corridors. Soldiers in combat armor passed by on every side, moving with purpose and discipline. The same galaxy that locked us away like dangerous animals now wants us to come save them. Yes, Lisa admitted. I know how it sounds. I know how unfair it is. But the ore will not stop with the Council. If they conquer the galaxy, they will eventually come here. Earth will not be safe forever. Cole laughed, a short, harsh sound without humor. We know, we have known for a long time. She stopped at a large window and gestured for Lisa to look. Below them, Earth turned slowly in the void. It was beautiful, blue oceans, green continents, white clouds swirling in patterns that looked like art. But something was different. Lisa could see structures on the surface that should not have been there. Cities that stretched for thousands of kilometers. Factories that covered entire mountain ranges. Ships launching from every continent in a constant stream. When the Council quarantined us, they thought they were punishing us, Cole explained. They thought that cutting us off from the galaxy would make us wither and die. Instead, they gave us something precious. Time. Time to grow without interference. Time to develop without limits. Time to become what we were always meant to be. She led Lisa to a massive observation deck overlooking the largest construction bay Lisa had ever seen. Inside, ships were being assembled at an impossible rate. Robots and humans worked side by side, welding hulls, installing weapons, loading supplies. Thousands of vessels in various stages of completion filled the bay from one end to the other. We knew thee or were coming, Cole continued. We have been watching the galaxy for centuries. We saw them emerge from their home territory. We tracked their expansion. We studied their ships, their weapons, their tactics. She turned to face Lisa directly. And we have been preparing for this day since before your grandparents were born. Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. You knew. All this time you knew the war was coming, and you let it happen. "We did not start this war," Cole said, "and we were not allowed to join it. The Council made sure of that when they sealed us away. They wanted us contained. They wanted us forgotten. Well, we remembered. We remembered everything." She placed a hand on Lisa's shoulder, and her eyes softened for just a moment. "The or are predators. They have conquered 1,000 species because no one has ever been able to match them. No one has ever given them a reason to be afraid." Cole smiled, and there was something in that smile that made Lisa's blood run cold. They have never faced a species that hunts back. They have never faced humans. Lisa looked out at the fleet being built below. She thought about the galaxy burning. She thought about the billions of beings counting on her to bring help. "Will you come?" she asked. "Will you fight?" Cole nodded slowly. "We will come, we will fight, and when we are finished, the Or will learn what fear truly means." The Or Armada surrounded the Council capital world like a swarm of locusts preparing to devour a field of grain. 3 million ships hung in the void, their dark hulls blocking out the stars themselves. On the planet below, 12 billion beings huddled in underground shelters, holding their loved ones close and waiting for the end. The Or observed the world with cold satisfaction. It was a collective intelligence, millions of individual minds linked together into a single consciousness. It had conquered 1,000 worlds before this one. It had consumed species beyond counting. And now, at last, the heart of galactic civilization lay before it, defenseless and ripe for harvest. The order was given. The fleet began to move forward. And then the sky tore open. A rift appeared in space itself, a wound in reality that glowed with blinding white light. It was not like any hyperspace window the Or had ever seen. It was raw, violent, and impossibly large. Human ships poured through by the thousands. They came in waves, each one more numerous than the last. They did not fly in the neat formations that Council fleets preferred. Instead, they swarmed like angry insects, each vessel moving independently yet somehow working in perfect coordination with the others. Their hulls were black and angular, their weapons already powered and ready to fire. On the Or command ship, the processed this new development with something approaching curiosity. A new species. How interesting. More biomass for the harvest. The first Or ships moved to intercept the newcomers. Their living armor began to pulse with energy, preparing to absorb the weapon's fire that would surely come. The human ships fired. But these were not energy weapons. Kinetic rounds, simple pieces of metal moving at a fraction of the speed of light, slammed into the Or hulls. The living armor that could absorb lasers and plasma bolts was never designed to stop physical impacts. The rounds punched through like needles through paper, tearing the ships apart from the inside. The felt confusion ripple through the hive-link. This was wrong. This was not how battles were supposed to proceed. Before it could adapt, a second wave of human weapons struck. Missiles, each one carrying nuclear warheads, detonated against Or hulls. The explosions were not pretty or elegant. They were brutal, efficient, and absolutely devastating. On the bridge of the human flagship, Admiral Cole watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. Her fleet was taking losses. Human ships were dying. Human crews were being killed. But for every vessel they lost, they destroyed 100 Or. "Launch the virus," she ordered calmly. Lieutenant Chris Palmer, a young officer who had spent years developing electronic weapons, entered the command into his console. A signal burst from the human fleet, spreading through space at the speed of light. It wormed its way into Or communications, infiltrated their hive-link, and began to tear their network apart from within. The effect was immediate. The screamed, not with sound but with thought. Its connection to its fleet was being severed. Ships that had moved in perfect coordination suddenly began to drift. Soldiers that had shared a single purpose were now individuals again, confused and terrified. "Their hive mind is fragmenting," Palmer reported. They cannot coordinate, they cannot think as one anymore. They are panicking. Cole allowed herself a small smile. Humans invented electronic warfare before we ever left our planet. We have had centuries to perfect it. Hit them again. Do not let them recover. The human fleet pressed its attack with relentless fury. Kinetic rounds and nuclear missiles tore through our formations. Electronic warfare systems scrambled their communications and confused their sensors. And when human boarding parties launched themselves at disabled enemy ships, they fought with a savagery that the or had never encountered. The or were used to being the monsters. They were used to watching their enemies flee in terror. But these new creatures, these humans, did not flee. They did not show fear. They charged forward with weapons in hand and death in their eyes, screaming war cries that echoed through the corridors of captured ships. 6 hours after the battle began, it was over. 2/3 of the Or armada had been destroyed. The rest fled into hyperspace, scattering in every direction like frightened animals. For the first time in 10,000 years, the Or had been defeated. In the Galactic Council chamber, the assembled representatives watched the battle recordings in stunned silence. They saw the human fleet emerge from nowhere. They saw weapons that should not have worked tear through invincible enemies. They saw the impossible become possible. Ambassador Oss was the first to speak. His voice was barely a whisper. That is not possible. Nothing can defeat the Or, nothing. Lisa Grant stood before the assembly, her expression unreadable. She had watched the battle from the human flagship, and she was still processing what she had seen. Nothing in the galaxy, she said. But we are not from the galaxy, we are from Earth. High Counselor Hex leaned forward, her crystalline form flickering with colors that had no names in any known language. How? She asked simply. Lisa thought about everything Admiral Cole had told her, about the centuries of preparation, about the weapons designed to counter every known threat, about the human spirit that refused to accept defeat no matter the odds. You locked us away because you were afraid of what we might do, Lisa said. You thought we were too violent, too aggressive, too dangerous to exist among the stars. And maybe you were right. Maybe we are all of those things. She paused, meeting the eyes of every representative in the chamber. But right now, those things are the only reason any of you are still alive. The chamber fell silent again. Lisa could see the conflict on every face, relief at being saved, mixed with growing fear of their saviors. This is only the beginning, she continued. The Or are wounded, but they are not destroyed. They will regroup, they will adapt, and they will come back. She straightened her spine and lifted her chin. When they do, we will be waiting for them. Humanity does not fight wars to survive. We fight to win. And we will not stop until the Or are nothing but a memory. She turned and walked toward the exit, leaving the representatives to contemplate what they had just witnessed. Danny fell into step beside her. You know they are terrified of us now, he said quietly. Not just the Or, the whole galaxy. Lisa nodded. Good. Fear will keep them from doing anything stupid. And right now we have a war to finish. The war continued for 18 months. 18 months of battles that stretched across 1,000 star systems. 18 months of human ships pushing deeper and deeper into or territory. 18 months of victories that should have been impossible. And 18 months of watching the galaxy grow more afraid of its saviors. Lisa Grant stood on the surface of Prime, a world that had been occupied by the Or for nearly 3 years. The air still smelled of smoke and death. The ruins of a Or breeding facility stretched out before her, its walls torn apart by human weapons, its halls filled with the bodies of creatures that would never threaten anyone again. Human soldiers moved through the wreckage, checking every corner, securing every room. They were efficient and professional. They did not celebrate. They did not cheer. They simply completed their work and moved on to the next objective. They do not take prisoners, said the young diplomat who had been assigned to accompany Lisa. His translucent skin flickered with the yellow of unease. "I have watched them liberate 6 worlds now. Not once have they allowed any or to survive." Lisa said nothing. She had watched the same thing. She understood the logic. The or could not be reformed, could not be reasoned with, could not be trusted to ever stop trying to consume other species. But the coldness with which humans exterminated them still made her uncomfortable. "The or would never surrender anyway," continued, as if trying to convince himself. "They would fight to the death no matter what, so it does not really matter, does it?" Lisa finally turned to look at him. "I was not talking about the or." Fell silent. He knew what she meant. Everyone in the galaxy knew. The stories had started spreading after the first few liberation campaigns. Stories about what human soldiers did to worlds they conquered. They did not just defeat the or, they erased every trace of them. They did not just free occupied populations. They demanded loyalty oaths in return. They did not just claim territory, they incorporated it into something they called the Earth Protectorate. The galaxy had traded one threat for another, and the new threat was winning. A few weeks later, Lisa was summoned to a private meeting with High Counselor Hex. The ancient being received her in a small chamber far from the main council hall, away from prying eyes and listening ears. "Your people are not liberators," Hex said without any greeting or pleasantry. "They are conquerors." Lisa sat down across from the High Counselor, suddenly feeling very tired. "They are survivors. They are doing what they believe is necessary to win this war." Is it necessary to demand that liberated worlds swear allegiance to Earth? Is it necessary to install human governors on planets that have governed themselves for thousands of years? Is it necessary to absorb or technology into their own fleets, making themselves stronger with every battle? Lisa had no good answers. She had asked Admiral Cole the same questions and received only cold stares in return. "You locked them away for 600 years," Lisa said quietly. "You told them that they were too dangerous to exist among the stars. You made them believe that the entire galaxy hated them. What did you think would happen when you let them out?" Hex was silent for a long moment. Her crystalline form dimmed slightly, a sign of deep thought. "We thought they would help us," she finally said. "We thought they would defeat the or and then return to their place. We did not expect them to claim everything they touched." "And if they had simply gone home after the war, what then?" Lisa asked. "Would you have thanked them? Would you have welcomed them into galactic society? Or would you have sealed them away again, afraid of what they might do?" The High Counselor did not answer. She did not need to. They both knew the truth. Lisa leaned forward, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. "I have spent my entire life among your people. I believed what you believed, that humans were monsters who needed to be contained. But now I have seen both sides. I have seen what they or do to the worlds they conquer. I have seen the mountains of bodies, the breeding pits, the processing facilities where they turn living beings into food." She paused, collecting herself. "And I have seen what humans do. Yes, they are harsh. Yes, they are demanding. But they also rebuild what they conquer. They establish order. They protect the populations they claim. The worlds under their control are safer than they have ever been." "Safer but not free," Hex pointed out. "Is freedom worth anything if you are dead?" Lisa countered. "The or gave their victims nothing. The humans at least give them a future." The High Counselor rose from her seat and moved to a window that looked out into space. Stars glittered in the darkness, each one representing a world that might soon fall under human control. "When this war is over," she said, "what happens to humanity? Do they return to their quarantine zone? Do they release the worlds they have claimed? Or do they keep expanding until the entire galaxy belongs to them?" Lisa joined her at the window. She thought about Admiral Cole, about the fleets still being built in Earth's orbital shipyards, about the soldiers who had spent their entire lives preparing for a war that was not even close to finished. "I do not know," she admitted. And I am not sure humanity knows either. For 600 years, they have been defined by their hatred of the galaxy that rejected them. Now they are discovering what else they can be, whether they become protectors or tyrants. That is a choice they have not yet made. Hex turned to look at Lisa directly. And what do you believe they will choose? Lisa thought about her own life, born among the stars, raised by aliens who feared her blood, constantly having to prove that she was not the monster her species was supposed to be. She thought about Danny, about the other humans who had lived in exile, about the generations of children who had grown up being told they were dangerous. I believe they will choose what they have always chosen, she said slowly. They will survive. They will adapt. They will overcome whatever stands in their way. She met the High Counselor's ancient gaze. Whether that makes them heroes or villains depends on how the rest of the galaxy treats them, and right now, all I see is fear. She turned and walked toward the door. If you want humanity to be your partners instead of your masters, she said over her shoulder, then maybe you should start treating them like partners, before they decide that being masters is the only option left. The or burned. It was a massive planet, 3 times the size of Earth, covered in hive cities that stretched from pole to pole. For 10,000 years, it had been the heart of the or Dominion, the birthplace of a species that had consumed countless civilizations across the galaxy. Now it was dying. Human ships filled the sky, raining fire down upon the surface. The orbital defenses had been destroyed in the first wave of the attack. The fleets that had protected the planet had been scattered or annihilated. The ground forces that had terrorized 1,000 worlds now cowered in their tunnels, waiting for the end that they knew was coming. Admiral Cole stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the final destruction of an empire. There was no triumph in her eyes. There was no joy or satisfaction. There was only exhaustion and a heavy weariness that seemed to press down upon her shoulders. The last or breeding center has been destroyed, Captain Danny reported from beside her. Orbital scans confirm no remaining military installations. The Dominion is finished. Cole nodded slowly. Signal the Council. Tell them the war is over. Tell them it is time to discuss what comes next. The message traveled across the galaxy at faster-than-light speeds, reaching every species that had spent the last 2 years living in terror. On 1,000 worlds, beings of every shape and size received the news. The or were gone. The threat that had nearly destroyed civilization itself had been eliminated. But the celebrations were muted, because everyone knew that the victory belonged to humanity, and everyone wondered what humanity would demand in return. The negotiations took place on a space station at the edge of known space, neutral ground that belonged to no one. On one side of the table sat the representatives of 47 species, each one nervous and uncertain about what was to come. On the other side sat Admiral Cole and a single diplomatic advisor, Lisa Grant. High Counselor Hex spoke first. Her voice was calm, but Lisa could see the fear flickering beneath her crystalline surface. "Humanity has saved us," the ancient being said. "You have done what no other species could do. You have destroyed a threat that would have consumed us all, and for this, the Council is eternally grateful." Cole said nothing. Her face was unreadable. "However," Hex continued, "the Council has concerns about humanity's continued presence in galactic affairs. The methods you have employed during this war, while effective, have been troubling. The worlds you have claimed, the governments you have installed, the technology you have absorbed, these actions suggest a pattern that many find concerning." Lisa watched the Council representatives shift uncomfortably in their seats. She could see what they were thinking. They wanted to put humanity back in its cage. They wanted to thank them for their service and then send them home, locking the door behind them. Cole seemed to read the same thing. She leaned forward slightly, her eyes never leaving Hex. "Let me save you the trouble of figuring out how to say it," Cole said. "You want us to go back to quarantine. You want us to give up everything we have gained. You want us to pretend that the last 2 years never happened." The silence that followed was deafening. "That is not going to happen," Cole continued. "We shed our blood to save this galaxy. We lost millions of our people fighting your war. We earned our place among the stars, and we are not going to give it up because you are afraid of what we might do." Ambassador Oz stood up, his reptilian features twisted with anger. "And if we refuse, if the Council decides that humanity must be contained once again?" Cole smiled, and there was something dangerous in that expression. "Then you will learn the same lesson thee or learned. We do not fight wars to survive, we fight to win, and we never ever stop." The threat hung in the air like poison. For a moment, it seemed like everything was about to fall apart, like the galaxy would tear itself into pieces in another war, this one between humanity and everyone else. Then Lisa raised her hand. "Wait," she said. "Please, everyone, just wait." She stood up and walked to the center of the chamber, positioning herself between the two sides. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. "Humanity is dangerous," she said. "We all know that. They know it too. 600 years of isolation taught them exactly what they are capable of." She turned to face the council representatives. "But being dangerous is not the same as being evil, and treating them like enemies will only turn them into enemies." She turned to face Admiral Cole. "And you," she said, "you have proven your point. The galaxy knows what you can do. The galaxy is afraid, but fear is not respect. And ruling through fear is not victory, it is just another kind of war." Cole's expression did not change, but Lisa thought she saw something flicker in the Admiral's eyes. "Humanity spent 6 centuries being defined by one moment, the first contact incident. Every species in this galaxy looked at you and saw monsters. Every child was taught to fear your name. And maybe that was unfair. Maybe you were just scared and confused, meeting aliens for the first time with no idea what to expect." Lisa spread her hands, addressing everyone in the chamber. "But now you have a chance to define yourselves differently. You can be conquerors, ruling over a galaxy that hates and fears you. Or you can be partners, working alongside species who respect you and welcome you as equals." She looked directly at Cole. "Which one do you want to be remembered as? The species that saved the galaxy and then enslaved it? Or the species that saved the galaxy and then helped it become something better?" Silence filled the chamber. Cole stared at Lisa for a long moment, her face impossible to read. Then slowly she nodded. "What do you propose?" Cole asked. Lisa turned back to the council. "Humanity keeps the worlds it has already claimed. Those populations have sworn loyalty and deserve the protection they were promised. But no further expansion. No more annexations. Instead, humanity joins the council as an equal member, with full voting rights, full participation, and full responsibility." Hex considered this, and the technology they have developed, the weapons. "Shared," Lisa said, "with everyone. If humanity is going to be part of this galaxy, then the galaxy should benefit from what humanity knows. In return, the Council shares its knowledge with Earth. No more quarantine, no more secrets, full and complete integration." The representatives began to murmur among themselves. Lisa could see hope beginning to replace fear on some faces. Not all, some would never trust humanity no matter what happened, but enough. Cole stood up and walked to where Lisa was standing. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, two humans from very different worlds, united by blood they had never chosen. "Do you really believe we can change?" Cole asked quietly. "After everything we have done, everything we have become?" Lisa thought about all the stories she had heard. The violence of first contact, the brutality of the war, the cold efficiency with which humanity had exterminated the Or. But she also thought about the soldiers who had fought and died to protect strangers, the engineers who had worked without sleep to build ships that saved billions of lives, The ordinary humans who had sacrificed everything for a galaxy that had never shown them any kindness. "I believe we have to try," she said, "and trying is the most human thing of all." Cole was silent for a long moment. Then she extended her hand toward Hex. "We accept," she said. "Full partnership, full integration, a new beginning for all of us." The High Counselor reached out with one crystalline appendage and touched Cole's hand. "Very well, Admiral, humanity may stay, but understand we will be watching." Cole allowed herself a small smile. "We would expect nothing less." As the chamber erupted in a mixture of relief and cautious optimism, Danny approached Lisa. "You did it," he said. "You actually convinced them to give us a chance." Lisa looked out the viewport at the stars, the same stars that humanity had been locked away from for 600 years. They seemed brighter now, somehow, fuller of promise. "We have not done anything yet," she said. "This is just the beginning. The hard work comes next." Danny nodded. "But you think we can do it? Build something better, become something other than what everyone expected us to be?" Lisa thought about all the humans she had met, the soldiers, the scientists, the diplomats, the ordinary people who had carried the weight of their species' reputation their entire lives. They were flawed. They were dangerous. They were capable of terrible things. But they were also capable of wonderful things, of courage and sacrifice and love, of building instead of destroying, of reaching out instead of pulling away. "I think," she said slowly, "that we are about to find out what humanity really is. Not the monsters from the First Contact stories, not the saviors who won the war. Something new, something we have never been before." She turned to face the future, whatever it might hold. "And I think that is the most exciting thing of all."